All right, now a common debate we all have is whether animals are conscious or not. Like, is your cat able to think about how much food you ate today, or when the next time they're gonna eat? You know, is that an instinct, or is that like a conscious thing they can think about how humans can? You know, are cats able to think about what time it is, or just any thought that isn't like an instinct, like when am I gonna eat next, or I need to use the bathroom, or I want to go outside, things like that. So I found a video today called "Do Animals Know They Exist?" My answer to this is it's complicated because it's not you can't prove it, you know. So there's no like solid answer to be said. So yeah, we're gonna check out the video. Video will be linked in the description below. Go check out the Discord and go check out the gaming channel as well. Without further ado, let's check it out.
Right now, there's a dog lying on a couch somewhere, staring at the wall. And if you asked its owner what it's thinking about, they'd probably say something like nothing,
Nothing.
or food, or squirrels. But what if that's wrong? What if behind those eyes there's something looking back? What if that dog
No, I would argue highly against
knows
that.
on some level that it exists? Or, and this is the question that should actually keep you up at night, what if it doesn't? What if you are the only kind of thing in the entire universe that knows it's alive?
I would argue against that because if animals in a way were conscious, they wouldn't see themselves in a mirror and like not stay like animals don't even recognize themselves in a mirror. Like I've never seen that. So that's bizarre to me. If they were conscious, I feel like they would be like, "Hold on, is that me?" You know, like whenever I've seen an animal look in a mirror, they don't take time to even process what they're looking at. They just kind of ignore it, you know? So, yeah.
In 1970, a
I
psychologist
mean, there's studies of animals being empathetic, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're conscious, you know?
named Gordon Gallup Jr.
Consciousness, in my definition, is being aware that you will not exist one day. So, and animals don't think about the fact that they won't exist one day. So that, in my definition, makes them
came
not
up with
conscious.
what is still considered the gold standard test for self-awareness in animals. It's called the mirror test. While it's
Animals are instinctual animals, you know, or creatures, whereas humans are creatures that are able to think higher than that.
unconscious, you put a small mark somewhere on its body. A dot of paint on its forehead, a sticker on its ear. Somewhere it can only see in a mirror, not by looking down. Then you put it in front of a mirror and watch what happens.
Yeah, they don't they don't process it at all.
Most animals see their reflection and think it's
They don't
another animal. They posture, they bark, they try to scare it off.
they don't sit there. Like, it's either they don't care, they think it's another animal, or they, you know, just ignore it. You know, it's like they aren't consciously thinking about the fact that is
Eventually
them in
they
the
get
mirror,
bored and walk away,
and that's what separates the
never
two.
once understanding that the thing they were threatening was themselves. But a handful of animals do something different. They see the mark. They look at the mirror, they look back at themselves, and they reach up and touch the mark on their own body. They understand that the reflection is them.
Really, I've never seen
Animals
this.
that pass, chimpanzees,
Chimpanzee. Okay, well that makes sense because we have a common ancestor to chimpanzees.
bonobos, orangutans, gorillas, but only occasionally, dolphins,
Occasionally.
orca whales, elephants, and one bird, the Eurasian magpie, a crow-sized creature with a brain the size of your thumb that apparently knows what it looks like. The animals that fail, dogs, cats, almost every other
Well, it's weird because some animals are like higher on the ladder of intelligence than, you know, like cattle. You know, like cows compared to like an orca. Cattle are stupid compared to orca, or like dolphins. You know, or elephants. Elephants are another creature that people think are conscious. You know, there's a story like of the elephant that remembered someone, and they came to their funeral and stomped them to death. You know, that's an example of an elephant like literally remembering something. So it's like I doubt a cow would ever do that. So it's like some animals are just, they seem dumber than other ones, you know.
mammal on Earth, including
But then you got like gorillas who some chimpanzees, like apes, which have a common ancestor to us, who've like literally completed board games. So it's like
for the
some
first
animals
2
are
years of
intelligent.
their lives,
That doesn't prove consciousness, though, in my opinion.
human babies. Now here's where it gets complicated. Because a lot of scientists think the mirror test is a terrible way to measure self.
Because animals don't fear the unknown, right? I don't think animals think about the fear of the unknown, or they don't think about the fact they will die. So they don't think about the fear of the unknown or what happens after we die. So it's like,
Self-awareness. Dogs, for example, live in a world built almost entirely on smell, not sight. Asking a dog to recognize itself in a mirror might be like asking you to identify yourself from a recording of your own heartbeat. The format of the test is wrong, not the dog. In 2017, a researcher named Alexandra Horowitz modified the test. Instead of a mirror, she gave dogs a scent version, their own urine, altered urine, and completely foreign urine, and watched which one they spent the most time investigating. Dogs spent significantly more time with the altered version of their own scent. They noticed something about themselves had changed. By their own rules, in their own sensory world, dogs may know exactly who they are. But knowing who you are is different from knowing that you are. There's a distinction philosophers have been arguing about for centuries. It's the difference between being a self and knowing you're a self. Between having experiences and knowing you have experiences. There's a word for this.
Yeah.
Metacognition. Thinking about your own thinking. Being aware of your own awareness. It's what you're doing right now, actually. You're not just reading these words. You know that you're reading these words. You can zoom out from yourself and observe yourself from the outside.
Yeah, you could think of your own existence from a perspective that isn't you in a way. I mean, it's still you, but you can think about it. You can imagine it from someone else's perspective.
Can animals do that?
No, absolutely
and the
not.
answer, increasingly, is yes, but it's messier than anyone expected. In 2007,
They might just be able to do it in a way where we can't think about it.
Researchers at the
Couldn't imagine.
University of Georgia ran an experiment on rhesus monkeys. They gave the monkeys a memory test, and after each question gave them a choice. Take a hard test worth more points, or take an easy test.
I'm aware that monkeys and apes, our common ancestors, can do things like this. You can ask ape a certain question, and they might respond to it based off of instinct. But they will never ask you a question, and that right there is the separation line between animals being conscious and humans being conscious. Humans are curious. Humans want to know. Animals just want to live. So
worth fewer. The monkeys consistently chose easier questions when they were uncertain of the answer, harder questions when they felt confident. They weren't just answering questions, they were evaluating how well they knew the answer before they gave it. That's metacognition. That's an animal thinking about its own thinking. And it doesn't stop at monkeys. Rats have been shown to opt out of tests they haven't studied for, choosing a smaller guaranteed reward over gambling on a question they're not sure about. Pigeons can report their own memory failures. Dolphins have been observed hesitating before answering, in a way that mirrors human uncertainty. These animals aren't just reacting to the world. They're modeling their own internal states. They know when they know something. They know when they don't. But here's what science still can't crack. All of that, the mirror recognition, the metacognition, the self-modeling, it's all behavioral. We can watch what animals do. We cannot get inside what they feel. There's a concept philosophers call qualia. The raw subjective texture of experience, the specific redness of red, the particular pain of a paper cut, the feeling of being you, right now, in this moment. Is there something it feels like to be a dog? Or is the dog just running biological software, processing inputs, producing outputs?
Yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. I think that animals just act off of instinct. They may do things like people always say, like, well, how come dogs, as soon as they're born, they start digging holes and burying their poop or like some, like, how do they know this stuff? It's a pre-installed. It's pre-installed through evolution in their biology. Like he just said. Humans aren't like that though. Humans have to be taught like math and science and whatnot, So if you taught a human no language, then they wouldn't have a language.
With nobody home. The philosopher Thomas Nagel made this famous in a 1974
and that in itself is consciousness.
Paper with one of the greatest titles in academic history. What is it like to be a bat? His argument was simple and devastating. Bats navigate by echolocation. They experience the world as a landscape of sound reflections that we literally cannot imagine. And no matter how much we study bat brains and bat behavior, we will never know what it feels like to be one. The inner experience is inaccessible. And if we can't know what it's like to be a bat, how do we know there's anything it's like to be anything other than us? Some scientists think we're massively underestimating animals. In 2012, a group of neuroscientists gathered at Cambridge University and signed what became known as the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness. Their conclusion: the neurological structures that produce consciousness in humans are not unique to humans. Birds and mammals, and possibly other creatures, possess the same neural substrates for conscious states. In plain English, the hardware that runs consciousness in your brain exists in their brains too. The lights, they argued, are probably on. Frans de Waal, one of the world's leading primatologists, spent decades watching chimpanzees and argued that the question of whether animals have inner lives was almost backwards. We should be shocked, he said, if they didn't. Evolution doesn't tend to invent something from scratch. Consciousness almost certainly evolved gradually, just like legs, like eyes.
If they do, they surely aren't showing it.
Like lungs, which means it probably exists on a spectrum, and we are not at one end of it and everything else at the other. We're all somewhere along the same line. And then there's the one piece of evidence that's hardest to explain away: grief. In 2018, a killer whale named Tahlequah lost her calf. The baby died shortly after birth, and for 17 days, Tahlequah carried the body of her dead calf on her head as she swam. 17 days, across more than 1,000 miles of ocean. The rest of her pod took turns helping her carry it when she got tired. Scientists called it a tour of grief, the longest recorded in any non-human species.
See, that's
and no one
interesting.
had a clean behavioral explanation for it. It wasn't about survival. It wasn't about feeding. There was no evolutionary advantage to carrying a dead body for over 2 weeks across open ocean, except that maybe she knew her calf was gone and couldn't let go. If that's not the behavior of a creature that knows something existed and now doesn't, what is? So where does that leave us? The science says, yes,
I think you just can't prove either. You know, it's like when you talk about like a god. You know, you can't prove it, you can't not prove it. You know, so
animals
it's like,
can recognize themselves. Yes, they can think about their own thinking. Yes, they feel something, probably. But the innermost question, the one you actually want answered, does the dog lying on the couch know it's alive? That one we still can't fully reach. Here's what...
Yeah, we'll never know, because like, it's tricky, you know, because like you look at them and you observe animals, you're like, they don't look like they're conscious. They just look like they're acting off of instinct. So it's like,
we do know. The more closely we look at animals, the more the gap narrows. Every decade of research closes the distance a little more. Abilities we once thought were uniquely human: language, tool use, culture, mourning,
tool use. Yes, I am aware that like apes and like certain chimpanzees have like been using spears lately. That's crazy, because that's what humans used to use back in the day. Next thing you know, they'll be using bow and arrows.
Keep turning up in other species. The wall between us and them has been getting shorter for as long as we've been studying them, which raises an uncomfortable question. If we've been wrong for as long...
How you'll know the animals are conscious is when cows start revolting on farms, because they know they're going to just die. When they start revolting and, you know, just if they start a revolution, then you'll know.
Long as we've been studying them, which raises an uncomfortable question. If we've been wrong this whole time, if animals do exist in some meaningful sense, if there's something it's like to be them, if they feel and grieve and know themselves, then the way we treat them isn't just an ethical question. It's something we've been getting wrong for all of human history. And the only reason we got away with it this long is because we couldn't ask them. There's a chimpanzee named Washoe who, in 1966, became the first non-human animal to learn American Sign Language. She learned over 350 signs. She taught some of them to her son.
Really?
One day, a researcher who had been gone for a long time came back to visit. Washoe hadn't seen her in months. When Washoe saw her, she signed, "Cry." Then she pointed at the researcher's eyes. Cry. She wanted to know why the researcher wasn't crying, why she wasn't as moved as Washoe was. Whether or not Washoe understood her own existence, she understood yours. Maybe...
Ooh, that got me thinking.
That's where it starts.
See, that's why. I mean, it could be believable because we evolved. You know, we share a lot of DNA with them, and we share a lot of DNA with bananas too, which is weird. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this video. This was a really cool, insightful video.
Wanted to know why
I like reacting to stuff like this. I know it's a lot more boring than the stuff I react to normally, but it is cool to learn about philosophy and things like that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know in the comments below what I should react to next. Leave video recommendations in the comments, and just join the Discord. You could leave them in the video recommendation tab. Go check out my gaming channel, and until next time, guys, have a great day or night, and peace out.